welcome to another Sunday Night Roundtable discussion show right here on the OHIO podcast. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs, a.k.a. the Podfather. And you are you, and we're thankful you decided to join us this evening. Smash that like button. Don't waste any time. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that this evening. Share the show with your friends, family, loved ones, co-workers, and Michigan friends, because we want to make sure that we rub them the wrong way this evening as well. Hey, everybody, make sure you, for whatever reason, you need to get a hold of us. You can email the show at theohiopodcast@gmail.com. Check out the website, theohiopodcast.com. And, of course, let us know what you think about what we think down in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you doing? You're doing it wrong. It costs you nothing. It's absolutely free. Check out our Patreon, where a lot of the stuff we talked about, you could have read hours ago over on Patreon, where our insider Buck Vader is running the message boards. And if you are a member, you are a paying member of Patreon, I've got great news for you. That beautiful magazine that you're looking at right there is complete. It is being edited and proofread as we speak right now. It'll be ready for your digital download for your eyes by this Friday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and it will cost you absolutely nothing. You get it absolutely free if you are a member, paying member over on Patreon. So, hey, you want to just see what Patreon's like, pay for 1 month and get the magazine for free? Go for it. Cost you nothing. You'll get a free link, and then you'll be able to go read all 54 pages of this magazine, Bart. 54 pages. It's got articles, game reviews, season stats, awards, portal info, recruiting info. It's got it all, and it's pretty awesome. And then it'll go to the printers this Friday as well. And so if you want to pre-order a hard copy and actually get a physical magazine to hold in your hands and read, you can do that as well. That'll be available. We'll provide that information for everybody this week. Also, if you are listening to this podcast, wherever you go, you can take us with you. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts. I don't know if Stitcher's still a thing, but if Stitcher was a thing, we would be there as well. Basically, wherever you download your podcasts, that's where you can find us. If you are listening to us, please consider giving us a 5-star review. We absolutely appreciate it. Joining us this evening, the home team, all the way down from the volunteer state, that would be one Knoxville. Nate, good evening, Nate.
Good evening, fellas. Wonderful to see you tonight.
How much snow have you accumulated so far?
Cyril. They closed the entire town. They canceled school tomorrow. They pretty much raided the grocery stores and emptied the shelves, and it snowed 0 inches.
Well, we also have a county engineer from the great state of Ohio with us, Buckeye Bart, King Kong Bart. Bart, how are the roads there in your neck of the woods?
Not good. Our guys started at 4 o'clock this morning, and they stopped about 7 o'clock tonight, and they'll be back out tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock. So I got up this morning and did my dad and my husband duties and took my wife and my daughter they work together about a half hour away at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I went back and picked up my daughter at 2, came home, went back, picked up my wife at 6. So I've been driving like 4 hours in this snow today, but I have a 4x4 truck, and low key, it's pretty freaking cool to do that. So.
And joining us as our special guest this evening, he comes from Pittsburgh. He's a former Buckeye. He was the walk-on known as Rudy at Ohio State. Our good friend, Mike Wargo. Welcome in, Mike. Woo!
Thanks for having me. Always fun to be on.
How much snow have you accumulated there in the Berg, buddy?
A lot. Outside, I just looked. They tried to plow it earlier today, and I think they just kind of just said, they're not going to do it till tomorrow. So I was going to buy a snowblower yesterday, and, I was proud that I didn't do it, but now I wish I did, because it's going to be some serious shoveling. But this is cool because I can keep my sanity in this house being on the Ohio podcast.
There you go. RDCB says they got 13 inches up there in Akron. That's less than what we got. I think last, Bart, when I went out and shoveled, we were at 14 and a half inches here in Delaware.
I think that's what we got, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, it depends on where I think we got anywhere from 10 to 12 here, but
All right, guys, we're gonna dive into it tonight. Now, I haven't talked to Bart and I haven't talked to Mike yet on the new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. We also have some information for you guys tonight from our insider, Buck Vader, who spoke to a Pittsburgh insider, a Steelers insider, who provided some very interesting intel on Arthur Smith and his perspective on how he will do at Ohio State. Some good and some not so good. I want to compare him to Brian Hartline. We're going to have that discussion, and then later on tonight we're going to get into tampering, the Dabo Sweeney incident with Ole Miss, which I'm sure is going to be, we're going to stir that hornet's nest up. I mean, we might as well. I'm a glutton for punishment. So that being said, I'm going to start with you tonight, Bart. I haven't got to talk to you yet since Smith was hired, other than just a quick conversation that we had. Tell me your thoughts now that it's been 24 hours on one Arthur Smith coming to Ohio State to be the play caller in 2026.
I absolutely love it. If last year hiring Patricia did anything for us, it's like be patient, trust in the system, it'll work out. But him having head coaching experience, it's hard to become a head coach in the NFL. And he must have passed a lot of tests that they had. And he had some really good offenses in Tennessee. He had some. Atlanta, he had some. So my problem with everybody questioning this is like, how do you become a great offensive play caller and then you don't? You have the knowledge. It's the players you play with. And Mike will probably attest to this with the Pittsburgh stuff, but an aging quarterback, two good running backs that I think he got the most out of, not the greatest receivers. It pains me to say, but still better than the Browns by a mile. But I love the hire. But the thing of it is Ryan Day was going to get with a certain coordinator. And this seems like his style of offense, if that makes sense. 12-13 set, running the ball. I can't say slow down, but I think Ryan agrees with what he does. And what other program can you have two former NFL head coaches and one of the greatest in college football? And the cast that they have here is tremendous. And the one last thing is what I said before was Ohio State is a huge college program that should not be hiring OCs cutting their teeth. We are an elite program. Let's act like it. We are not a starter program. We are a program that gets seasoned offensive coordinators, or should. And I think this is a great hire, and we'll see. But if he doesn't produce, there's always a scapegoat. But he was once a great coordinator, and you don't forget that. You are only as good a coordinator as your players that you have.
Mike, you're from Pittsburgh. You're a Steelers fan. He was the OC for Pittsburgh the last couple years. I've seen a lot of Ohio State fans who are also Steelers fans poo-poo this hire. I'm really interested to get your take.
I disagree. I agree mostly with Bart. Let's take a look at Mike Vrabel. Okay, he was fired last year at Tennessee, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Just took over New England, right? And what's he doing? He's going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you look at that, just because someone's not doing well or doing mediocre, that means nothing. There's other good places where he could be. He did great at Tennessee. With the hoopla, I think this year in Pittsburgh, there was just so much negativity with Mike Tomlin. So anything associated with Mike Tomlin, it was like a cloud. Oh, the coordinators are no good. The guy before was absolutely horrible, Canada. I mean, he was like with Kenny Pickett and everything. So I think you got to take all that with a grain of salt. I don't agree with that. I think he's going to be a good hire. Ohio State is saying we are the pros. Take a look at like Julian saying somebody wants to come here to transfer portal, all the craziness with that. You want to be under a pro quarterback. Obviously, if you're coming to Ohio State now, you want to be in the NFL, period. Well, now you're going to work with NFL experienced coordinators to get you to where that level. And no place, as you said, no place for like a first-year coordinator to try it out. So I think it's a great hire. I actually think he might have – well, I agree. He might have better talent to work with at Ohio State than he did at Pittsburgh. I think that working we got Jeremiah Smith. I think is better than our wide receiver there. Metcalf and everything. He's not going to be punching people out in the sideline. So that's another big plus. He's gonna keep his cool there. So I take all that with a grain of salt. I think he's a good proven coordinator. You're exactly right. He was a head coach. You don't get to those places unless you got something good going on. And, think about it. His dad was the founder of FedEx, and he's probably worth billions. He could have been like, my daddy is great. I don't have to do anything. But he cut his own teeth as a great offensive coordinator. So I agree with the hire. I think it's good. Anything about the negativity about Pittsburgh, I think that's all just reflective of people were so tired of Mike Tomlin that anybody associated with that is just a negative vibe. That's what I get here in Pittsburgh. So I'm all for it, and I think it's going to be great.
Now, Nate, it's been 24 hours since we spoke last. You spoke pretty glowingly on him because of his time at Tennessee. You're down there in Tennessee, so you're close to that situation with the Titans. Has your opinion changed at all in the last 24 hours?
No, it hasn't. I mean, this guy, go back to 2019, and that's when there was kind of a little bit of a quarterback controversy or back and forth where they played both Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill in the same season in 2019. They ended up throwing for almost 4,000 yards between the two of them, 30 touchdowns. The team ran for over 2,200 yards, and A.J. Brown was a 1,000-yard receiver. The next year, obviously, 2020 was even better. That was the year that Derrick Henry ran for over 2,000 yards. Tannehill threw for almost 4,000 himself, had 33 touchdowns and 7 picks. That was by far Tannehill's best year ever as a pro. And because of those 2 years, primarily, that's what got, Arthur Smith the head coaching job when he ended up getting hired, by the Falcons. So you don't get hired as a head coach being an offensive coordinator unless somebody sees you doing that and thinks that you're, doing a pretty damn good job. And I think that's what happened. And, now we have a former NFL head coach at the offensive coordinator position. We got a former NFL head coach at the defensive coordinator position. As Bart said, you can't really beat that when you're a high-end college program. I think that says a lot about, who we are collecting on our coaching staff.
Bart, you mentioned there that this should not be a school. Ohio State is elite and shouldn't be a school where you cut your teeth as a play caller. Do you feel that Brian Hartline should not have been the OC in 2025?
100% no. No, not at all. I see why, because he's an elite recruiter and we were getting the best of the best wide receivers. Ryan Day was in a pickle. It's either make him offensive coordinator, give him, a bump in pay and a promotion. So what else are you going to do? Either going to say, hey, I'm going to lose him. You got to rely on your talent there. And, honestly, he was actually pretty good that another college wanted to have him. So, yeah, we're Ohio State. I mean, we're one of the top, what would you say, 2 or 3 programs in the country in college football right now. Why should we be the feeder for another school when we should get the elite of the elite, which I think Ryan Day is proving over and over. And let's not forget, what did we miss most about Chip Kelly's offense, Eric? What do you think?
I think it was how he designed those running schemes.
100%. And what does that do? It opens up everything else. And if we could get that running program back the way it was, and I believe that Arthur Smith can do that, it's going to be hard to cover everybody that we have, and Jeremiah Smith's going to go off. Sayan's going to be more a season where he's not going to miss so many open receivers. He's not going to have maybe not much time, but if you could process that as a quarterback and throw it to the right receiver, the offensive line can be mediocre sometimes. He just didn't process it fast enough and find the open receiver. But I just don't think Ohio State should be a program that hires new offensive coordinators. That's just my opinion.
Nate, in the comment section, you said they kind of had to let Hartline be the OC. Go ahead and dive into that a little bit more. It sounds like you're on Bart's same wavelength there.
Well, I mean, I didn't really have, unlike Bart, I didn't really have a problem with them letting him be the OC because he had kind of had some, a little bit of time doing that before, and he was going to probably leave fairly soon, and if you don't promote him again, he was probably going to leave faster. It ended up not mattering, as we have found out when he went to USF. And as Mike mentioned, the timing of that really blew me away. I mean, I had no problem with him leaving. I'm happy for him getting a job. I think we all kind of knew he was going to move on, but just the timing of him leaving really screwed with our offense, and obviously didn't help us in the Big Ten championship. That being said, I feel like you kind of had to make him the OC. What else were you going to do? If you went out and hired somebody else, I think that pisses Hartline off, may have soured their relationship. And so I feel like it was kind of the obvious choice, and it was where it was definitely going to go. I think we all kind of saw that one coming. And he didn't do a horrible job. I mean, I try and go back and think about the offense as a whole and the totality of the season, and I can't give him an F. But I do feel like bringing in a more experienced play caller is going to help this team tenfold.
Mike, you said that you felt kind of like Hartline leaving kind of derailed the postseason for Ohio State. Speak on that for us, if you don't mind.
I think it did. We had the momentum. We beat Michigan. We're on top of the world. Think about the end of that Michigan game and how well that happened. And then all of a sudden, Hartline leaves. And obviously, you can tell he's a player's coach. He's a great recruiter. That's why Ryan Day kept him in that position. And I think he was a decent offensive coordinator for a first-year guy, what have you. But I just think right at that time, when that happened, it kind of threw everything for a loop in the Big Ten championship. When you're head coach of I've never been a head coach, but if you're head coach of a new program, your mind's going to be elsewhere. You got the job as offensive coordinator at Ohio State, but all you're thinking about is I got to go to the new school and like that. And I think it did affect the Big Ten championship game. And whatever we do, please, we can't have Ryan Day being offensive coordinator. When I heard that again for the Miami game, I had a bad premonition about that. He needs to work on the head coaching duties and leave the offensive coordinator alone. So, I don't blame Brian Hartline. He's bettering his career. He's going somewhere else. But I just think for the team psyche, if he would have stayed, we may have had a different outcome there. If he could have announced after the season, I'm taking the head coaching job. And I wish they would have some kind of rules on all this stuff where you can't, just like the transfer portal, you can't just up and leave. Wait till after the end of the year. Back in my day, everybody announced that after the end of the season. And I think it did have a mental effect. College football is a lot of mental, more than the pros. You know how it can be. You can beat Michigan, and then something goes weird with the balance and the chemistry. I think that messed up the chemistry for those last two games, and that's why a big reason. I'm not blaming him, but I think it's a factor in why we had those results.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Mike, if you ever had a coaching change in the middle of the season while you were there, and obviously it sounds like that didn't take place at all.
Well, Coach Cooper was always on the hot seat. So, I mean, it was always like when, and every single year, this is the year it's going to happen. We would get new assistants every single year. And, one I didn't get along with this guy. I was a walk-on, so I was as low as you could possibly be. But we had some psycho coaches back then. That's probably not as much now, but guys that would just get on you and this and that. And this guy, Elliot Uzelak, he was there, and he's like, you're too fat. You need to lose weight. Get your ass going. Get your butt going, what have you. And then the whole thing happened with Robert Smith, where he told Robert Smith, you got to study, according to Robert Smith's story. I don't know who's who. But anyway, Robert Smith quit the team, and it was because Robert Smith blamed him. And there was a big fight between him and Robert Smith wanted to come back to the team. And he said some things about Elliot Uzelak in Sports Illustrated. And I guess Elliot Uzelak, behind Cooper's back, said, I want you to talk into this tape recorder, and said, you lied about me and everything. And Elliot Uzelak got fired. So when I saw him leaving the facility that day, I'm like, okay, coach, see you, buddy. So, he was a good guy. I was a young kid, whatever. But he's a good guy. But when you get new coaches, and as I said that before, as a player, it could be a positive. If you have a bad relationship with some and you get a new coach, you get a clean slate. But we never had a head coaching change. John Cooper always hung on somehow. We tied Michigan, and that saved his job. And, so not to the extent of that, but we would have assistants. There'd be a coaching carousel every year. Those guys would leave to go to different places. If you're a coach, you're not going to be in one place long.
Buck Vader, we're going to get to that. I have an entire slide where I broke down all your nuggets, buddy. So we'll get to that in just a minute.
Hey, Eric, I was going to tell Mike, my wife said that same thing to me this morning. Say, hey, fat ass, why don't you get up and get moving a little bit? And so you think you had tough coaches? Yeah, come to her sometime. But, and real quick, Eric, I think when I said 100% that I think he did a good job with a freshman quarterback. So I did a deep dive into, and I haven't really shared it with you, but into the Miami game. And when he had a little bit of time, even he missed open receivers. He made the wrong calls. He makes a couple of those right calls. We are saying Brian Hartline's the greatest freaking offensive coordinator ever. So when you have a freshman quarterback, that he's only going to be so good. I think if Hartline's the offensive coordinator this year with a more seasoned Julian Sayin, you're going to say something different about offense. That's when I said coaches. They're still good coaches. It depends on who you have. And I don't care who you have as offensive coordinator. You have Julian Sayin as a freshman. You can only go so far with his experience and how he does. So I think we are being a little hard on him because a couple plays here and there go a different way and we win a national championship. Are we even talking about this?
Yeah, no. And I'm going to say something that probably is very controversial, and that's okay. I'm used to it. Brian Hartline, everything that man touched turned to gold. Mm-hmm. He was 12-0 as a first-time play caller.
Yeah.
Was it as perfect as what Chip Kelly made it look like the year before? No, but he was 12-0 when Chip Kelly was 10-2 through those first 12 games. And let's not sit here and sugarcoat it. That 10-13 loss at home to the team up north, that Chip Kelly was calling the plays that day. I know everybody, it looked like a Ryan Day game plan. It looked like a Ryan. And Chip Kelly was calling plays that day. So let's give credit where credit is due. Now, him leaving, did that affect the team? 100%. I'm with you. I'm behind you every step of the way on your thoughts, Wargo, with him leaving the team. It definitely changed the psyche of this offense. They were never the same again. They were out of sync. It obviously affected him. It affected the offense. But let's not sit here and act like Brian Hartline was trash. Dude was 12-0, and he was learning. It was a work in progress. Now, can someone tell me how many offensive plays Urban Meyer called as an offensive coordinator in his career?
0.
Nada. Nothing. 0. Never called a 1. Brian Hartline's a better play caller than Urban Meyer. Technically. Will Brian Hartline be a great head coach? Possibly. Again, everything the man has touched has turned to gold, in my opinion. This was the first time in his career where he faced adversity and didn't come through with flying colors, you could say. But he still was 12-0 during the regular season with a redshirt freshman quarterback, with a freshman running back. Ran into Indiana. It didn't go well after you decided to, take your first head coaching job. So That's kind of my take on Brian Hartline. I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just being a realist in my opinion, and that he was a better play caller, I think, than a lot of people are giving him credit for. Now, that being said, I want to compare Brian Hartline to Arthur Smith. Here's the difference. Arthur Smith has about 8 years more on him calling plays, and he did it in the NFL. Huge difference there. Do you guys think that this is Ryan Day? It sure seems like this is what Ryan Day wanted. That he had the Brian Hartline thing. As you pointed out, Nate, he kind of had to go down that path. This time, since Brian left, he's like, I'm going to do what I'm comfortable with, and that means I'm going to go get an NFL guy. Why do you think he wants an NFL guy? Give me your take on that. Nate, I'll start with you. We'll go counterclockwise.
I think a number of reasons. I mean, I think one reason is he wanted a guy with experience running a sophisticated offense. I think he wants to make our offense more sophisticated. I think a little bit at last year at times we were a little blah. It was, we were running a lot on first down. We were doing a lot of things that, let's just say, were predictable. I'm not ripping Heartline either. As you said, that we were 12-0 after winning the national championship and losing 17 guys that were either drafted or signed as undrafted free agents in the NFL. I mean, that's a lot of dudes to lose off of one team. So there wasn't just like our quarterback was the first guy starting for the first time. We had a lot of guys that were starting for the first time across the board. That being said, I think this year he felt like we needed to up the ante. We needed to utilize, we've got one of the greatest wide receivers of all time at our university, which is pretty much known as wide receiver U. So if you have a guy, as Eric mentioned a couple of weeks ago, who's in line to break every record across the board in wide receiver stats, then you need to use him and use our weapons accordingly. And I think that's what he wanted to do, was go out with a guy that had years of play calling experience at a very high level. And then also when you're the head coach and you're a head coach in the NFL, I think you see things in a different perspective. You have to, know what the defense is doing, know what the offense is doing, special teams, how all of those things work together. And this guy has done that. And I think that's why he went out and got him, because I think he can help this team in a number of ways, not just with the play calling, but primarily with the play calling and making it a little bit more unpredictable at times.
Well, I think what Nate said earlier about Ryan Tannehill, like if you can make him an all-pro, you're one heck of a coach.
Yeah.
And you're going against the best defensive coordinators that these owners think they have in the world, and you're making them look bad. What do you think he can do to a first-time DC or a second-year season DC in some of our games? He'll destroy them. But I think the bigger thing is he got head coaching experience. He can help Ryan and different things. But I think where they're looking with Matt Patricia is kids want to get to the NFL. That's their ultimate goal. Who else better to coach them than somebody who knows what it takes to be in the NFL? That is a huge factor, not in recruiting only, but in portal. If you've got a guy that say, hey, I'm fringe, I want to come here and learn from an NFL guy that, first of all, knows people in the NFL, knows all the coaches, knows all the owners, knows who the players are. What other better coach can you have than somebody who maybe can get you to the next level? That's the goal for all of us. That's the goal for all of them. So why not hire people that know how to get there? And I think that's why he goes that route.
Or go.
Let's face facts. College football is now an NFL model all the way around. If you want to compete and you want to go for the national championship and you want to do well, you better have NFL coaches. You better have an NFL scheme. Okay, let's say we're going to talk about what happened with Dabo there. You got a quarterback. Hey, should I come to you? Or, Michigan's offering me another $500,000 a year to go there. Yeah, well, we got Matt Patricia. You want to get developed into the NFL? We're going to develop you into the NFL. It's another variable that can be used in this age of NIL. And another thing about Arthur Smith, he's a big guy. He's a lineman. That's where he got started. He played at North Carolina, offensive line. What do we want to really do next year? We want to have a great running game. We want to knock these people around so when we go to passing, these guys will be open left and right. Offensive line kind of whiffed there in the last couple of games, like Miami and things like that. We're going to have a run base. I think he's going to be balanced, but I think the run's going to really be emphasized. He's going to be great with the offensive linemen since that's where his basis is. So I think Ryan Day may have went to him because we need to be strong on that offensive line. And if we can get that covered and you got a guy that's an NFL experienced head coach, let's get some transfer portal people. I guess that's over, but let's get some people, recruits or whatever. You got an offensive line guy, and I think we're going to have a great running game next year. because of his experience with the line.
Interesting. Okay, so obviously you guys both brought up the fact that he's an NFL guy. Players want to get to the NFL. He's more seasoned. He's more experienced. He should be able to scheme circles around some of these defensive coordinators. Is there any concern at all that he hasn't coached in college basically at all? I think he had 1 year as a GA, I think. All of his experiences in NFL. Is there any concern at all from any of you that, hey man, this is college, it's a little different now? Or like you said, Warg, I understand that this is college is becoming more NFL light. I get it, but it's still not the NFL. These are still quote unquote student athletes.
I have no question that I would have a question if he would go to, let's say, a Minnesota or an Iowa or something like that. But we've got 5 probably first round draft picks. And we are the closest thing right now to an NFL team that there is in college football. I honestly believe that. With saying could be number 1 pick, we could have the top 2 picks next year. So if that doesn't scream, NFL, so why? I think it would work here 100% because you got elite players that he has coached his whole career basically with elite players. My only concern going into that was offensive linemen. Nothing bad against you, Wargo. I didn't want an offensive lineman as an offensive coordinator. I was a quarterback back in the day, and you had to learn every position where the receivers were going, where the linemen were blocking, but the linemen have their duty, and that's what they do. But he has got the best of both worlds. He's done that. He knows all the plays, but he could teach our offensive linemen, and I think Mike makes a huge point, is he knows how to play the position, and he knows what it takes to get that running game going with pass protections. And I think he is just going to thrive with our offensive linemen. And I never really thought about that until Mike brought it up. But it was a great point.
Either one of you guys want to chime in before I read this comment and answer it?
I don't think there's much of a difference now with the college game and the program. The people that come to Ohio State, they want to be in the NFL, period. If it's a smaller school, like you said, Bart, there'd probably be a bigger difference. But it's just it is a business. These guys now are millionaires in college. Like when I was there, if you got a free spaghetti dinner, you were ineligible. Think of how different it is now. So what would be told to them is if you want to be in the NFL, you're going to get some coaching and, buck up or go in a transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of experience dealing with guys that are making millions of dollars playing football, and that's basically what you're dealing with now. And we essentially have free agency in college football now. So he's good with, he's had experience dealing with, flipping the roster, bringing in guys for a year, trying to make the team better. And, we've seen it both ways, as one of our astute listeners mentioned. Matt Patricia came in without much experience last year and looked pretty good. Bill Belichick also had very little NCAA experience, and it didn't look so good at North Carolina. So there's 2 ways there, but also he had no players, and the roster was garbage. So maybe he'll do better this year with a better roster. And I think, obviously, as Bart mentioned, we have some legit talent on this offense, and the area which I think needs to improve the most is the offensive line. I mean, at times, let's be honest, we were getting pushed backwards, especially when we were playing, the better competition. They pushed us around a little bit, and that's what we need to get back to is moving the line of scrimmage forward and, busting holes open. And I think Arthur will help us do that.
I think one point that we're kind of missing is look what Matt Patricia did last year, and he stayed. And there's one reason, because of the kids. He loves working with kids because he's done it in the NFL. And one of you guys said they're prima donnas. They got their contracts. Do they work hard? There's a few that work very hard. But in college, it's either you make it to the NFL or you go get a job. And either you're that or you're in a portal. And I think coaching some of these kids that are hungry, that want to learn, I think that feeds into a coach huge. And if you teach a kid like that and they go out and perform, how much better does that kid make them feel? And then you just get all the love. I think Patricia loves it, And I think Arthur Smith's going to love it too. And it's just a different breed between NFL and college coaching. And I think there's a lot of upside to do college coaching.
I want to answer this question, and then we're going to go to Vader's Nuggets next. WBuck21, do you guys think Arthur Smith was the first choice? Do you think Daboll and others had other choices in the NFL? I do not think that this was Ryan Day's first choice. We were told that Ryan Day was told he's not calling plays. So I think Ryan Day probably took a step back, and he took some time and he analyzed things, and he probably said, what was successful before that I've done, what's not been successful. Well, one of the most successful things he did was he went to the NFL and he got Matt Patricia. So I think this is kind of him going back to that well a little bit. Was Daboll the first choice, but Daboll was sitting on an offer and he was waiting to see if he got a job in Buffalo or New York or something like that, or wherever, not New York because that was where he got fired from, but maybe Baltimore. Maybe some of these NFL guys don't want to come down to college because they don't want to recruit. They want to stay up in the NFL where there's a season. They have a nice break where they can go on vacation. College, you don't have that. You have like a window of 1 week where you can go on vacation in like July, I think it is. And even then, players end up signing, and then you have to, and then other coaches who aren't on vacation are trying to flip them on you. So when they announce and make their commitments. So I don't know that this was necessarily his first choice, but I do know this. When he interviewed, he got the offer and signed really quickly. Because there was no smoke around him until yesterday morning, and he was announced the OC yesterday evening. So it had to be a very good interview in Ryan Day's mind for him to say, sign us up. We're going to go ahead and go with Smith here. Was he the first choice going into yesterday? Maybe not. He was definitely the first choice coming out of yesterday. He's the guy. So I hope that answers your question. I kind of feel like I skirted around it a little bit, but that's the best I can give you now for what I know. All right.
I don't want to see you in a skirt, Eric. So good job. So yeah.
All right. This is from our insider Buck Vader. I hope you like the graphic I'm about to lay on you, Vader. There we go.
There you go.
Vader gets his own logo.
I like it.
Yes. From a Pittsburgh insider, Arthur Smith will be able to address many of the issues that Ohio State had in 2025, including getting the offensive line to play better. Ohio State had basic run schemes, and there wasn't much, quote-unquote, play stacking. That is from a Pittsburgh insider to Vader. Love to hear what you guys think about that. And I think I know what play stacking is, but do either of you guys know what that means? Technically, like, what's the official term for that? Like, what is that? I think it's like one play builds off the other, so you kind of set the defense up, kind of like that. So,
well, and you'll run one play one time just to kind of see how the defense reacts, so you can come back and run other plays off of it.
So the Pittsburgh guys saying we didn't see much of that from Ohio State under Brian Hartline. You guys agree?
We saw a balanced attack. I think he did okay. I don't know. I mean, if I'd have to go back and look at all the games and everything, but with Arthur Smith in Pittsburgh, here's another thing that I was just thinking about. The defense, which, one of the highest paid defenses in the NFL, really whiffed in a lot of those games.
Yeah.
They gave up. You got T.J. Watt and all those guys, and they ran a ton of yards on some of those games. So you can't totally blame Arthur Smith on that. As far as play stacking, that sounds really cool. Is that like pancakes or something, like offensive line? I like stacks of pancakes.
Well, our DCB says, well, we have Bart here, so we should ask him. So
if it refers to pancakes, I'm really good at that. But
yeah. We got to do that one time at the morning on a spring game or something. It'd be fun.
Well, the Indiana game too. I mean, you can you can go at the play calling all you want, but let's be brutally honest here. Indiana's found out to be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That defensive line, their secondary, even their linebackers, Aiden Fisher. I mean, they're a good football team, and we played Indiana as close as anybody.
Yes.
The Penn State game obviously came down to the end, but I mean it was 13-10, and we missed a field goal from the 10-yard line. Did I love the play calling in that game? Did I love how we didn't score being inside the 15-yard line 4 times? No, but we were against a pretty good opponent there, and I think that was a big factor on why some of the plays didn't work.
Well, am I the only guy like the Miami game? Did you guys get that weird feeling like when the game started, like it was going to be like Florida 2007? Like when I saw our offensive linemen just getting destroyed, that Miami defensive line as well, just creating havoc and everything. I got a weird vibe on that. First of all, Ryan Day calling plays. Second of all, they had the layoff again. Like, the teams that play, like last year we got to play in that first round playoff game, but I had that vibe like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to go well. But there's only so much you can do. Like what you said, with the offensive coordinator, you can have the best plays and everything. If the offensive line can't block, who was the guy in Miami that was a superstar?
Bain.
In there. They just couldn't block him at all.
It's a reckoning, Ryan Day.
Yeah. Hopefully Arthur Smith can really work with I'm not saying the line did bad the whole time, but we really whiffed on those last 2 games.
Ken Taco Hut, I think, has the best definition of play stacking. A coach who builds an offense by sequencing plays where one call sets up the next, often using identical formations or motions to manipulate defensive keys.
Awesome.
If you would have gave me a chance, that was my exact definition.
Oh,
so yeah.
Okay, Bart.
AI couldn't bail me out on that one. I tried.
I tried to make RDCB look good in the comments, but you didn't give me a chance. So.
Okay, all right. Back to Vader. This is again from the Pittsburgh Insider. I don't see the personnel that is really important for his system to work well. You need big playmaking tight ends and dominant tackles to seal the edge. That feels like a challenge to me.
One of the Pittsburgh criticisms was he didn't go to Freiermuth a lot, the tight end. So, that was kind of like one people were upset about.
Well, we should be used to that at Ohio State. So we never got to the tight end.
He's just another lineman, basically.
Me and my dad always said, when it went to a tight end, we said, that's a flag. You can't do that. Well, that's a 15-yard penalty. But
I don't like the Pittsburgh guy calling out the tackles.
Calling out our tackles?
Yeah. He's saying we don't have the tackles to run his style of offense.
Yeah, I wish I didn't agree with him, but I almost do. I mean, I'm not
Nate.
Which tackle of ours are you impressed with? Which
Austin
tackle?
Severveld until the end of the season was dynamite, and he is hurt those last 2 games.
Yeah, he didn't look good the last 2 games, and
he's hurt.
Philip Daniels was supposed to be a depth guy and ended up having to start at right tackle for us almost the entire season.
I think he was more of a guard, personally.
Yeah, he is a guard. He's a short-armed guy. He doesn't have the length to really be a dominant tackle. And honestly, Austin did good for him. Do I think he's a first-round NFL draft pick? Is he Paris Johnson Jr.? No. And that's who we don't have. If you remember back to that team a few years ago, where we had Paris Johnson Jr. at left, we had DeJuan Jones at right. Those were 2 NFL starting tackles, and we haven't had one of those, since. And I thought we were going to go to the portal and possibly address the tackle position, and we did nothing, and that concerns me.
Let's not call DeJuan Jones a starting NFL tackle. Okay,
he started games in the NFL.
He doesn't mean he's a starter. So did Philip Daniels. Does that mean he's a great tackle? No.
I'm saying DeJuan Jones has started games in the NFL.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I don't know.
Philip Daniels is not
very good or not, but yeah.
Philip Daniels ain't going to start games in the NFL at tackle.
Well,
I don't see that coming.
He's a big boy, 6'8", 375.
Yeah,
Wow.
He is Thanos. He is a big dude, and he will play some more. But I just thought that they would go out and get somebody. Last year I think they saw that we needed help. They went out and at least tried. Did the guy from Rice work out? Obviously not. But I thought that we would go and add at least one tackle because there was a bunch of them in there at the beginning of the portal opening. There was several tackles that I thought were upgrades over what we have, and we didn't bring any of them in. We didn't sign any of them, and that to me was head scratching.
All right, so Nate agrees with this guy on our tackles.
I'm not in love with our tackles.
Well,
fair enough.
I think our running backs made our offensive line look better than it was last year.
Yeah.
Correct.
It was still successful. My question is, why did we abandon that Chip Kelly running scheme? Everybody knew it. So because Chip leaves, oh, okay, well, we don't know how to do that. I don't know why they abandoned it because I think James Peoples, I think he's a serviceable running back. Bo Jackson could have, and obviously Bo Jackson missed some holes. So that obviously makes, and I think we're comparing, the quarterback last year,
Will Howard.
Yeah.
We're comparing Will Howard to Julian Sayin, and we're comparing Junkins and Henderson to Joe Jackson. Both of them people made the offensive line look so much better than freshmen. That's what we don't understand. That's what we're not comprehending is they make them look better. Now they're pass defense, not pass defense, but blocking for passing plays wasn't very good against Miami or Indiana. They had elite pass rushers, and Ruben Bain's going to be the top 5. So I don't think very many people can block him. I think you have to have big tackles to have a running game. I think it's almost worse to have a big tackle in a running game. If you want to pull or if you want to get out there and get a second line to a linebacker, you don't want huge tackles. So I don't know what he's talking about. If you want to have a good running game, you don't want huge tackles.
The left tackle needs to protect the quarterback the most.
100%.
That's what we need.
100%. Yep.
That's a key thing.
I got a question for you, Wargo, but first I'm going to take these 2 comments. What's up, SAC 3074 SAC? Don't forget the O-line players returning 2026 from a national championship team. Yeah. We have how many 3-year starters on this offensive line, 2-year starters on this offensive line? I'm going to defend this offensive line this season. I have made up my mind. I'm going to defend this offensive line this offseason. I'm going to put my chips in the offensive line as to why we will be good next year. Donald Hoffer says, I see his point to an extent. Our tackles haven't played Smith's system yet, so let's see what happens over the offseason. Mike Wargo, as an offensive lineman, as someone who was in the offensive line room, and I feel like the offensive line gets criticized. Next to quarterback, offensive line gets criticized the most. What's that like being an offensive lineman, having to read those news clippings and seeing that stuff that's being written and said about the offensive line?
When you're an O-lineman, you're not going to get the glory. Basically, you're the one that's paving the way. There's an old poem: "The lineman paves the way, the quarterback gets the glory." But you just got to take pride in your job. You got to take pride in your blocking grade. Maybe you can be like an Orlando Pace who pancake guys every other play, but your goal is to grade out, greater than 90%. So your offensive blocking grade, you want to grade out. You're not going to be perfect on every single play, but you got to take personal pride. Nobody's really going to know who you are unless you screw up. Like the guy that whiffed the block in Miami got totally destroyed. That's what's totally embarrassing. So that's the key part. The hardest part I found is trying to block the stunts, like block the twists and everything like that. That's something where you just really need a lot of practice and everything. So you just got to take personal pride. The O-line's always going to kind of be knocked, and when you look at Miami and those guys blowing by, it's just really embarrassing when you get whiffed and the tackle gets nailed. Julian Sayin gets nailed because you missed your block. So you got to take personal pride. We did that at Ohio State at that time, and we had some of the best linemen ever. You got Corey Stringer. There was a point, Corey Stringer and Orlando Pace. I never seen 2 better tackles. I mean, Corey Stringer unfortunately passed away a month after 9/11 in a training camp in Minnesota. But just I told you the story of Corey Stringer. We were playing Michigan State, and this guy was the defensive end for Michigan State, and he was destroying this guy every play, driving him like 20 yards on his back every play. And the guy just had a mental breakdown. He just started punching Corey in the helmet, and he got thrown just to get. He didn't want to go up against Corey Stringer. He just couldn't take it anymore. You saw Orlando Pace in his pancakes. They were just so dominant. We had one of the better lines, I think, in the history of Ohio State there. So, like what you said, you just have to take pride. It's not going to be a glory position. Maybe you'll recover a fumble in the end zone if you get lucky or something, but it's a blue collar job. You got to take pride in it.
Yeah.
Mike, did your career ever overlap with Orlando, or were you just a little older than him?
I was 91 to 94. Orlando's first year was my last year. Unfortunately, I blew my knee out in spring practice, so I barely knew him. We'd say hi to each other on campus. Corey Stringer came in a year after me, and he was incredible. He started – when you're an offensive lineman, especially back then, you never started really as a freshman or sophomore. You're getting developed. Corey Stringer started on the third game, but Orlando Pace was so good. He started his very freshman year. He started the very first game. He was that good. Those guys were both just incredible, and they got to play on the line in 1994.
Yeah. Jeffrey McDowell throwing out a possible line change here for us. Sounds like hockey. Line change. But shout out to our boy Sean. He suggested the same thing last week. Ian Moore at left tackle, Luke Montgomery left guard, Joshua Padilla at center, Carson Hensman right guard, Austin Severville moves out, kicks out to right tackle. I love it. I love that idea. I think it's great.
Do you want Severville as your right tackle when he played? I mean, I'm sure
his natural position is right.
Yeah,
it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was a little bit out of position this year, but he won the job. They had Ethan out there to start camp, and it was so bad. He just beat him. By the time the season was done, Ethan was third string.
Yeah.
$100 million and a half to be a third string. That's why
they tried to play him at guard too, and he couldn't do that.
No, it was. I think that's one of the reasons why they were gun shy in the transfer portal when it came to offensive linemen.
I think so too. But you can't just because you whiff on one guy, you can't not go after additional guys. I mean, you have, especially when it's I think potentially the weakest position on our team. I think you have to go out and at least bring in competition for these guys. There could be injuries. What are we going to do if somebody goes down and gets hurt? Do we have depth at the O-line? Maybe some, but I would have loved to have seen them bring in at least one more tackle. I think that would have helped.
All right, last comment from the Pittsburgh Insider that Vader got information from. And warning, this sounds like sour grapes to me. Smith isn't a collaborative kind of guy. If he is running an offense, he is running it without a ton of voices added to the mix. He likes carrying out his plan, and he doesn't want a head coach sticking his nose, in all the time. He's not a salesman or very charming, so probably a good thing he isn't going to be asked to be a recruiter. That feels very...
Who's that sound like, Eric? Right now, who's the first? When you see that, who first time pops up to your mind?
The former head coach.
No, I think Ryan Day. I think that describes Ryan Day to a T.
Ryan Day's going to stick his nose in it.
No. What I'm saying is when they describe Arthur Smith, it's almost like describing Ryan Day, meaning he likes his control, he likes the way he does things. But
Ryan Day's got a great personality. I think he's a good recruiter.
No, I'm not talking about recruit. I'm saying he likes the things his way. And I think that's what happened with Knowles is he didn't want any input from anybody, and I think that had to have been brought up in the interview process. They're not going to do their due diligence, and Arthur Smith says, "I'm going to do it my way, and I don't want you in the room," because he wouldn't be the offensive coordinator if that's the case.
I mean, I've heard that some people think that he tries to, he thinks his system. I mean, he's got an ego. All these coaches do. Let's be honest. I mean,
they
all have egos.
They've gotten to where they are if they did not have egos.
Exactly.
Right.
So they've got an ego. They think they know what's best. there's been some complaints on him that he tries to do things that maybe, didn't work or people don't like, and he sticks with it maybe too long. But he's had success calling plays. And, I don't think he would take the job at Ohio State if he wasn't going to listen to Ryan Day. Hopefully he doesn't listen to him too much, but I think that they will collaborate.
Wargo, any thoughts?
Hey, Mike, real quick. Did John Cooper, was he involved in the offense and the defense and the special teams? Did you see him a lot, or was he more of a
coach's coach? He was a coach's coach. Basically, the assistants would do all that. That's the people you would interact with every single day in practice. He would be, obviously he's the head coach, so he would do that, but he would never sit down like, you got to block this guy this way. He wouldn't teach the basics or fundamentals or anything for the most part. So no, I would say he was more of a coach of coaches. He was more of the head coach. I think he was a pretty laid back guy in a lot of ways. I think if there be any criticism of Coach Coop, sometimes he could get a little soft. I know they really tried, and I talked about Elliot Uzelak. They really, how I made the team, I think, is because they lost to Air Force. It was a disastrous year. That may have been the worst loss in Ohio State history. We played Air Force in the Liberty Bowl. All the coaches left. There were only 2 head coaches left, and we blew the game at Liberty Bowl against Air Force. I think that's how I got a shot to walk on. But he wanted to get the team a lot tougher. That's why he brought in like Elliot. We had to do a lot more our sprints and drills. But Coop was a great guy. But I think any kind of criticism, maybe he was a little soft, but a good dude. If you messed up, he would give somebody a chance. Other than throwing somebody off the team if you made a mistake, he would stick with you. Maybe sometimes he was too nice to some of the wrong players, and they should have been kicked off.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break here. And when we come back, we've got an interesting topic for all of you. We're going to dive into the national story that's happening right now over there in Clemson, South Carolina, and Oxford, Mississippi. And then we'll see where that leads. And if we'll have time, we'll let you all ask Mike some questions. So give us about 2 minutes. We'll be right back.
Hey, Buckeye Nation. The OHIO podcast is thrilled to partner with Export Mouthguards, the innovators redefining protection in contact sports. Introducing the Ninja Pro Mouthguard, the strongest and most advanced mouthguard on the market. Engineered by dental experts, it's designed to deliver elite protection with a sleek, low-profile fit. Made with carbon fiber and multi-layer construction, it's impact tested to keep you safe from even the hardest hits. But that's not all. The Ninja Pro is 3D printed for 100% custom fit, offering unbeatable comfort and security for any athlete. From football to MMA, dominate your game with confidence while safeguarding your teeth and jaw. Getting started is easy. Use our home impression kit to create your custom fit and enjoy prepaid shipping. It's protection delivered right to your door. Plus, with a 1-year warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee, and proudly made in the USA, the Ninja Pro is your ultimate defense on the field or in the ring. And here's the best part. When you visit exportguards.com, use promo code OHIO at checkout to get 20% off your purchase. That's right, 20% off elite protection made just for you. Protect your game, protect your future. Choose Export Ninja Pro Mouthguards, where innovation meets protection. Head to exportguards.com and use promo code OHIO today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Today's episode is brought to you by A Place at Home Senior Care. If you have a loved one who's recovering from recent hospitalization, stroke, or fall, maybe they're living with dementia and needing support at home, A Place at Home Dublin provides home care supportive services like bathing, dressing, mobility assistance, and medication reminders, all from the comfort of their home. Learn more at aplaceathome.com/Dublin, or you can give them a phone call at 740-472-8181. If you've not been following this national story, it is a wild one, to say the least. There was a freshman linebacker from Cal last year, 6'3", 230-pound Luke Farrelly from Carlsbad, California, who in his first year at Cal as a freshman had 91 total tackles, a sack, and an interception. He was one of the better linebackers with extra years of eligibility in the transfer portal. Dabo Swinney and Clemson got him to come to Clemson. He was enrolled in class, taking classes at Clemson, had an NIL deal, and then told Dabo Swinney, or actually his agent told Dabo Swinney, you're going to have to up his NIL if you're going to want to keep him. Ole Miss offered us more. And Dabo said, well, wait a second. He's here already. He's signed. What are you talking about? Dabo brings the player in. He's conversing with him. He's talking. And the new head coach at Ole Miss, Pete Golding, literally texts Luke, and he's got the text, hey, we can pay you more. We can get you out of this contract. This is a crazy story. Dabo's so wildly upset about this. Friday, he calls for a press conference and goes scorched earth on everything and everybody. If you go look it up, it is wild. He brings receipts, actual text messages from the head coach at Ole Miss to Luke. His conversations with Luke's agent about all of this. And he's like, this is clearly tampering by the rule. And he literally says, NCAA, what are you going to do about it? Now, I back up and I say this. Dabo Swinney has gotten to this point in college football where we're currently at. He's been dragged here, kicking and screaming the whole way. He has not wanted to participate in an NIL. I remember him saying the day we pay players is the day I will retire. Y'all remember him saying that years ago? Yep. Still here, by the way. Then he didn't want to participate in the transfer portal. We're not taking anybody from the transfer portal. We develop our own talent here. Now they're taking kids from the transfer portal. And now he's saying, I don't want to participate in what's going on with this. This is clearly tampering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you listen to the Clemson people, they're backing Dabo 100%. If you listen to the Ole Miss people, they're like, dude, we're only doing what's been done to us. Our coach left us and tried to poach the entire roster while we were in the CFP. So sorry about your hard feelings there, Dabo, but we need to fill a roster, and that's the way it is down here in the South, buddy. Toodaloo. That's where we're currently sitting. It is a wild story. Mike, I want to get your take on this first. We'll go clockwise here. Just give me your overall feelings of this crazy story.
Well, like what I said in the last segment, the genie's out of the bottle with the NIL, and this is an NFL structure now. But unfortunately, it doesn't have the regulations yet of an NFL structure. It's the Wild West. This is the Wild West. And honestly, I don't Clemson, I don't know which is my least favorite program next to the team up north. It's either Miami or Clemson. I'm enjoying that they're not having success. That was the greatest thing when we finally beat those guys. But the genie's out of the bottle. If you're going to call out a coach like that and you're going to go scorched earth and nuclear on somebody like that, you better make sure you're doing, on the up and up. I mean, all these, just like going back to time when I was around, there's going to be recruiters that are going to do stuff like that. Now, SMU had the NIL model back in the 1980s. They got the death penalty for it. If you would have told me back then, like, this is what's going to happen where kids are getting $1 million and everything like that, it'd be insane. But the genie's out of the bottle. All these schools are doing this stuff. The kid was enrolled, but there's no rules. And the NCAA, how much power does the NCAA really have? The NCAA is like the 80-year-old substitute teacher teaching in the juvenile detention facility. The NCAA has no respect, and the kids are running the asylum. So this is what we're dealing with. I like seeing Dabo whine. I've never been a Clemson fan, and this is the stuff you're going to have to deal with college football until And I hate to say this because I was always on the other side back in the day when I was there, when you got $30 for the weekend from the NCAA, and if you got a free meal, you're ineligible and you have to give up, or somebody buys you a suit. You're ineligible forever. That was absolutely ridiculous. And back then, people were like, we got to get paid, and we'd all laugh like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Well, now it has happened, but it's gone the other way, where the Frankenstein's released, the genie's out of the bottle. I think they're going to have to do something to try to kind of rein it in. Another thing with the NIL is how patient. If you're a rich person, they're going to go back to you and write these checks every single year, like our NIL collective or what have you. There's just got to be some kind of regulation. But I don't feel sympathy for Clemson. Yeah, maybe going after a kid after he's already enrolled, that happened, but it's now the free market economy. I'll give you another $1 million if you come over here, and that's what we're seeing.
Now, Dabo complaining, that's a new one for us, right? That's all that dude does.
Love it.
And to say that he is this high, mighty, I've never done anything wrong, that is bull crap. If you think he's never done anything wrong as he's coach or getting players, then you're naive, because you don't get that great a team for those many years without doing something behind illegal, whatever. He just doesn't like it. And so he's calling everybody out. So the SEC did that for how many years of paying players? And guess what? When they actually made it legal, they're nowhere to be found in national championship games. This is their new way of doing it, is just going behind people's back. But if you're not trying, what are you doing? And there's no teeth to anything. And I think Ohio State sometimes takes that Dabo road, I guess, if you want to call it, and doesn't want to do things the way that they shouldn't be. And I commend them for that. But at some point, you've got to play the game if you want to be successful. But to say that, this happened, and I'm just going to cry about it because he's done probably far much worse, he's just never been caught. So the holier than thou stuff, I don't care. And that's part of the game today, because there's no teeth, there's no rules, and they're taking advantage of it. So if they are, everybody should. And I don't like Dabo. So
I don't like him either, but he's got a point here. What is the point of all of this if there's no rules and there's no enforcement of the rules? Like there's basically this framework that you're supposed to follow. We did a whole show about it a couple of weeks ago, and how Ohio State is trying to follow these rules, because at some point, there's supposedly, this College Sports Commission is supposed to be the new wave of enforcement. And they're supposed to be up and running by 2025, 2026. They're supposed to be up and running by next season, but they're not right now. So there's nobody policing any of this. And it as much as I don't like him and I've never been a Dabo fan, what are we doing here? I mean, what's the point of all of this if you're going out signing guys from high school, getting guys out of the portal, but then other coaches are just calling them nonstop? I mean, it makes no sense. And there's got to be some type of rule where if you sign with the school, you stay there at least for the whole year. Or if you sign a player that they actually are on your roster, that they're going to be there. Like now, there's the point where these people are calling guys. This is just one example. This isn't the only guy that's been tampered with. This is happening all over the place. Think about the Duke quarterback who wasn't in the portal at all until the last day of the portal. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait a second, Miami called me and offered me this much money. I'm going to throw my name in.
$11 million.
$11 million. He's going to have his own house, his own boat, whatever he wants. And he wasn't even in the portal, until the last minute, because they were obviously calling him. Ty Simpson was the example we used the other day too, who was not in the portal. And he said Miami called him and offered him $6 to $7 million. So what's the point of even having this portal and making guys put their names in it if you're calling guys who aren't even in it? And it's just a broken system for sure. And there has to be some type of rules around this, and there has to be somebody enforcing the rules in order to make this, fair for everybody, because it's not fair. There's no rules and there's no enforcement. And so it's just kind of, broken as it sits. But, I'm not going to feel sorry for him, but I do think that there needs to be something done where, guys that are on rosters aren't getting calls, for more money. This is what happened to all of our players who we went out and recruited, and, trained them for 2 years, paid them. And then all of a sudden now some of them, Porter and Mylan Graham and these guys, is their turn to maybe get on the field, and they want more money because they're getting calls, from Notre Dame to get more money. And now they're gone. So that's what's going to keep happening unless, there's some type of guidelines, some rules in place, and somebody enforcing the rules.
Wait, Eric, let's not pretend that this is something new. It's been going on for 20-some years, people. I mean, the only reason we have NIL because the SEC was doing it so much and they knew it was happening. Nobody got in trouble. So, hey, let's just make it so everybody could do it.
Well, when the NCAA ruled that you no longer have to sit out a year to transfer, that's when the trouble really started happening.
Yeah.
Because now there's no penalty, right? Remember they used to have to apply for a hardship in order to get that 1 year waived. Justin Fields did that, if you guys remember.
Yeah. When's the last time we've had penalties, though, for anything other than getting tattoos? When's the last time that they've had anything? And Michigan is a prime example. So if you guys think that
Kentucky got hit last year, Arizona State got hit last year, Tennessee got hit with something a couple years ago. Michigan was really the last one. We all thought they were going to get the hammer. They got nothing. And so it feels like since Michigan got away with a fine, everybody's just kind of like, sweet, here we go.
I don't think there's going to be any rules because why would there be? They love money. Money's a flowing hugely, and they're not going to stop it. And they're just going to say, hey, this is a wild, wild west because it's been happening for 20 years and nothing's been done about paying players until now that's illegal to do. So let's not pretend that they're going to step in and say, oh, this isn't right. They're not going to do it. Yeah. And if they do, I think it's great because I agree with that. But we're talking about the NCAA here, and they're not going to do that. Unless they surprise us, I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, there's supposed to be some rules. I mean, they've said that you have to report the NIL deals over $600, and if you don't report them, coaches can be suspended, the players can be ineligible. But once again, there's nobody enforcing any of this, and that's the main issue. And I think
there's not been one player or coach been hit yet.
Correct.
So why stop until someone does something?
I will say, if Dabo does make it, the NCAA has to come out and do something. I will applaud him 100% that he's getting something done. I just don't think it's going to happen.
The NCAA has no power. Like I said, they're the 80-year-old substitute teacher teaching juvenile delinquents. They're run all over. They have no teeth anymore. We saw that with Michigan. We were going to plan the big party about Michigan getting a death penalty, which they should have gotten. The NCAA is a joke. So I think Congress or somebody like that's going to have to step in if we want to have any real reform.
Strockstar, they all use third parties to talk to these people. I'm getting there. Thank you very much, Sean. You're absolutely 100% right. I'm going to explain to you how this happens. Over on YouTube, I put a poll up that says, do you guys think Ohio State has tampered? Right now, 68% of you say yes, they have. I'm here to tell you they 100% have.
100%. If you're not trying, then you're not successful.
I know it, and here's how they do it. Here's how they're doing it, all right? Because everybody's doing it. You have individuals who are not coaches, by the way, who work with those coaches, and they have the ear of the agents. Said player who is playing for, let's just say, let's use defensive lineman who plays at Penn State. And you, as a particular player personnel person, know his agent. And you give his agent a call and you say to him, hey, obviously Franklin got fired. Is your guy going to be entering the portal or not? Let me know. That's all you got to say. Number one, Larry Johnson didn't make that phone call. Ryan Day didn't make that phone call, right? And the player was never talked to. Agent then calls player up and says, hey, man, you're getting some buzz over here. Sounds like Ohio State might be interested in you.
It wasn't Buck Vader, was it?
Who makes the phone calls?
Yeah.
Vader makes all kinds of phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the middleman. We're going to find out he's the middleman for all these things.
This whole time, Vader's been behind the scenes.
Hey, I'm not saying we're not tampering, but we're not doing it. like these other schools are. Because which guy have we gotten that we went out and stole from somebody? I mean, I just don't think we're doing the Miami, the Oregon, the
No.
Texas Tech
Well,
routine
I mean, and
where
the
we're
biggest
calling and offering
difference.
them $5 million.
Yeah, Nate. The biggest difference is Pete Golding texted Luke Ferrelli, texted him himself.
Yeah, Coach Day ain't doing that.
No, he's not. But I'm here to tell you there's conversations being had with individuals at Ohio State with agents.
I'm sure.
And to completely back up what Bart is saying, if you're not doing that, you're going to lose. You're going to get ran over.
Exactly.
You have to play the game. What's that old saying? Hate the game, not the player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, Chris called me John Harbaugh Jr. for saying that, so that really hurt deeply. So those are fighting words right there.
I'm just saying other teams are getting guys off of rosters, paying them more than they're making or giving them the biggest. I just don't see us doing that, at least not effectively at this point. So if we are tampering, we need to learn how to do it and call Pete at Ole Miss or call the folks down at Miami and figure out how they're doing it and do it the same way, because it's not an even playing field at this point as far as what we are doing.
Well, it isn't, and we've been handcuffed. We've handcuffed ourselves when it comes to NIL. 100%. If we take the handcuffs off, we're gonna be crushing it in the NIL department in the transfer portal.
So what have you always said, Eric? And I completely agree. If somebody's going to get caught, we will get caught.
It'll be us.
We'll get the hammer because we're Ohio State. I think that's just the facts.
Yeah, we have to be so careful in what we do, especially if we were making some phone calls to the NCAA and saying, "Hey, you might want to look at Michigan when it comes to this," things like that. So I'm just saying Ohio State is trying to play this game carefully, but don't be naive and think we're not going to get ran over. We're not going to allow ourselves to get ran over here, okay? You have to play the game a little bit at least to be competitive in this thing. So I believe that's the case. We'll see how it goes moving forward. What would you like to see? What's the best outcome in all of this in your mind, Wargo?
Maybe some regulation. I think they need to tamp down the transfer portal. Maybe move it to I don't know if they're doing this already, but just the ability to just transfer freely. It kind of really sucks seeing half of our team go out the window like a giant sucking sound the day after the last game of the season. Maybe have like an NFL collective bargaining, some kind of labor arrangement, something where it's like an NFL model where it's not the Wild West. This is the Wild West, have some rules. If it's not the NCAA, have just a governing, I don't know if they got to make laws or what have you. This is how much money you can get. I don't know. There's like a salary cap, something to have some kind of rules to rein this stuff in. But the transfer portal especially, I mean, it's insane. You have a bad day, you can just be gone. Back in my day, I'm going to talk about back in my day, that was a huge decision, man. You go to a college, you want to transfer, you got to sit out that year. Yep. They got to release you from your scholarship. Obviously, I never had that problem, but they got to release you and let you go. If you want to go somewhere in the Big Ten back then, you had to sit out 2 years. And it's basically to avoid what's going on now where you can just go to the next highest bidder and be on the team. So there's just got to be some kind of reining in as far as what exactly that is. I don't know off the bat, but I think like the NIL money, what did Quinn Ewers get paid just to come to Ohio State?
$2 million.
And I played as much as he did pretty much. I mean, he played in one. I think I played as much as Quinn Ewers did, So, it's insane. So it's just like, it's totally crazy. They got to rein this in, but the genie's already out of the bottle. So how do you do that? Like a few years ago when I heard the Bears were going to get played, I'm like, yeah, right. That's not going to happen. Well, it's happened, and this is what you're going to get. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. These guys are going to need more and more money. There's going to be a point where if you look at Woody Hayes Athletic Center now, those guys, I don't even know if they go to class anymore. I mean, the whole student-athlete thing, I think, is pretty much out the door. they just hang out at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center all day. That place is awesome. So something needs to be done. I think Congress is going to have to get involved with it, or politician. I don't know, but it needs to be reined in to some degree, certainly.
I do want to throw this out before I go to you next, Bart. It was 2 years ago, Carnell Tate was tampered with by Oregon. So, and there was a girlfriend connection there. I think his girlfriend was either on the track team or soccer team, something like that. But that was he totally got tampered with. Totally. I know in the chat they're talking about Caleb Downs. Don't think for 1 second when the news broke that Nick Saban was retiring that he did not field 13 other phone calls from SEC teams. Guarantee he did. Guarantee it. So, yeah, very interesting. Bart, what's the best outcome here in your opinion?
Rules. Just rules in general. How can you say you can pay a player and have no rules set in place and expect everybody to live by the same thing? What I hope happens is if they're going to pay players, if we're going to be NFL light, let's act like the NFL. A CBA, you can have so much money to get rookies, which would be recruitments, and you have so much money to spend on your roster. And now you're not going to see all these great players go into one team. You're going to have to manage that somehow. And the thing of it is if one guy's getting $10 million, another guy who thinks he's as good as that is getting $5 million, they're going to police themselves. They're not going to let teams run rampant because the players are going to police themselves. Like, I'm as good as him. I want that money too. But the team could say, I don't have that much money. Then they're going to leave. But there's got to be some rules in place. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if it does happen, they're going to find a way around them. And Sean in the thing, he says, I'm being tampered with right now. And I'll go to the highest bidder. So I think me and Sean and RDCB, we're going to announce right now, we're all going to have our own podcast, and we're going to crush you guys. So, you know what, Wargo, you're going to be our first guest. What do you think?
Right. I'm in.
Yeah, see, I already got Wargo, so it's already happened, Eric. I don't want I want people in Ohio. I don't need
Nate.
I don't need to be from Knoxville. Come on.
I need a deluxe snowblower. Like one of those that's self-propelled that can shoot the snow over to Cleveland, and I'm in. That's my NIL.
A deluxe McDouble. I can do a deluxe McDouble cheeseburger, but I don't know if I can do a slow blower. So.
I'll take that too.
Yeah. All right, Knoxville Nate, what's up, buddy? Give me what's the best outcome here, man?
Yeah. They need rules, but they more importantly, they need enforcement of these rules. And so if the rules are broken, there needs to be there needs to be a punishment, and people need to know what that is. They need to know what the rules are. They need to know what the punishment is. But first off, I know 2 rules I would make today. You can only transfer one time. You can transfer once and go to another school. If it's not working out, if you were sold a false bill of goods, if you were lied to, if you don't like where you go, then okay, you can leave. You can go somewhere else. But after one transfer, you should have to get a waiver, or should only be allowed to leave if your coach leaves, or some type of special situation. These guys playing for 4 teams in 4 years, or 7 teams in 5 years. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And there's no way that this is even fun for these kids to be just moving every 3 months. It's stupid. They should be allowed to transfer once. I have no problem with that. But letting guys transfer every single year is a joke. And then they need to also have contracts that are binding. What's the point of this guy, Darian Mensah, signing a 2-year deal with Duke to play for them for 2 years if after 1 year he can leave? If you sign a contract and you read the language and you agree to the terms, you should have to obey the rules of the contract and obey the terms of the deal. So they have to figure out a way to make these, make these contracts enforceable first off. But once again, that would involve having rules and having consequences. But that's, the 2 things that I would change immediately is limiting the transfer and also making people have to, adhere to what they agree to. If you agree to go to Ohio State for 2 years, then you should have to stay there for 2 years. If you sign a contract that you're going to play quarterback for Duke for 2 years, you should have to do that and not be allowed to just bounce because Miami called because Carson Beck's played for 9 years and he can't play for a 10th.
Ken Taco Hut might have had the best comment of the night. I don't know about snowblowers, but I do know a good vacuum repair shop.
Hey,
Nice little Connor Stallions reference there. Very well done.
So did you see who I picked up already?
Yeah,
I got
Vader.
I got RDCB, Sean, Mike Wergo, and guess what? I offered Buck Vader, Sydney Sweeney, and I've got him now too. So I might try her out first before I give her to Buck, just to make sure she's okay. So.
So you're already advocating sloppy seconds over there on your show. Well, okay, gotcha, buddy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's
we're not picky. We're not picky here, Eric.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing, and this has kind of been my thought on it. Over on the College Huddle, two of the fan bases that really like my videos and really talk to me in the comment section are Clemson and Ole Miss. And it is so crazy to get their sides of the story. And I'll be honest, I get both. I understand how they feel on both sides of the fence. Ole Miss is like, look, this is happening all over the place down here. Sorry about your luck, Dabo, but we have to stay competitive with LSU and our former coach, who's literally tampering with everybody. And then you got Clemson over here going, wait a second, this kid he took 3 classes already, 3 days of classes on campus. He was enrolled. You can't just take him from us already after he left, and we went through the process and did it the right way. I get it completely. Does it make a difference in your opinion that it's coming from Dabo Swinney as opposed to, say, someone else? Because in a way, Dabo Swinney is the elder statesman of college football coaches. Hear me out. Nick Saban retired. He's gone. He's won 2 national championships next to Kirby Smart. I think he's older than Kirby, if I'm not mistaken. At least he's got more years as a head coach. He won how many ACC conference championships to go along with those 2 national championships? Yes, the shine's off of him a little bit as a head coach, but do you think this coming from Dabo Swinney holds a little bit more weight to it than, say, I don't know, pick a random lower tier Big Ten coach, okay? Kirk Ferentz, or that's probably not a good one because he's been around forever. He probably doesn't even know what tampering is. Lincoln Riley. Does the fact that it's coming from Dabo hold any more weight to this, or do you guys think it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters. I just think it's him whining. I enjoy it, especially the current age of college football. You know, these coaches, they come and go and everything, and you know, I don't think it's much of an effect at all. I think it's him whining because he lost that one play. Yeah. But of course, I'm biased.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely whining, but everything he's saying is also true. And, that's what we have to realize is, he complains about everything. He likes to sit in his press conferences and go over his resume with everybody, especially when they suck like they did this year. He likes to remind everybody how great he once was. And, I get all that, but he's not saying anything that's not true. This is bogus. And there has to be rules and there has to be enforcement of it. And the fact that we have none of that is pretty much beyond ridiculous at this point.
No, I don't think it matters to come from Dabo because he also said that he wouldn't pay players and he wouldn't participate in a portal. So now we're supposed to believe him? I mean, come on. He's cried wolf. So how many times do you really believe him? Because he's doing everything he said he wouldn't do.
So who would hold more weight then?
Nobody. So
no, it doesn't matter.
Do you think there is? You think there's this magical person that's going to make the NCAA do the right thing?
Well, if enough of them do, these schools need to come together.
I'll tell you exactly who it would be. It would be the commissioners of the Big Ten and the SEC.
Correct.
Okay, and what was that last thing? And SEC. Do you think they are for anything going to make that difficult for them to take players. Heck no. And it's going to take the SEC to start complaining before anything gets done.
Yeah. Well, they want to get back up on top. They're mad
do.
that they're mad that they haven't even been in the championship game in 3 years, and their advantage that they had was that they were breaking these rules, and now that there is no rules, that it's harder for them to get on top. So yeah, they're not going to be in favor of stopping them from cheating, because that's all they've been good at for the last 20, 30, 40 years. And so I do think it would be hard to get, the SEC commissioner and the Big Ten commissioner to agree on something.
No.
But that's what it's going to take. You're going to have to get everybody on board to agree to these things and to adhere, to agree to these rules, adhere to them, and to agree on, consequences.
I think you answered your own question, Eric, when you said the Big Ten, there's no way that is ever going to happen. So the answer is no. There's nobody there that can make this happen. Let me ask you, what do you think? Do you think the SEC would do something like that?
I'm not sure.
Come
I'm
on.
not sure
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not sure the politics involved that we're not aware of.
Do you think they're especially since the Big Ten's won like the last 3 championships or 2 and a ghost one?
Well, it is ironic. It is ironic, Bart, that when you turn on ESPN the last 2 weeks, ever since Indiana won the national championship, all we have heard from Paul Feinbaum and the rest of the ESPN is about how the North has a financial advantage.
Yes.
Yeah, that's rich, isn't it? No pun intended.
And here they're the ones who are doing a ton of tampering. But Miami's not SEC, and we know they are, right?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech's not. Thank you. Is not. Oregon is in the Big Ten.
They're tampering.
And they're tampering. We have firsthand experience with that. So I'm not going to sit here and try to act holier than thou and say that Ohio State is blameless in this thing. But what I am going to say is that at some point you have to feel like the SEC commissioner has to look at his product and say to himself, if we truly are going to have a level playing field to where we can rise above the last 3 years, then we're going to have to put up some guardrails, or we're going to continue to lose out. Because what if Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Indiana decide, you know what? We're going to go ahead and just take every player from the South we want.
But this is the first time we've had a level playing field. When we start paying players, that's the first time we've had and what happened?
Exactly.
So do you think they're going to take
and what I'm saying is it could get worse for them.
Yeah.
It totally could.
This is the only way they could compete is by doing this and skirting the rules. And there's no way they're going to try to stop that. There's no other way they could do it.
So basically the hope of the SEC lays at the feet of Lane Kiffin is what you're saying.
100%.
Oh, what a college football world we live in 2026, where Lane Kiffin is the savior of the SEC and not Kirby Smart
look what he's doing.
Caleb DeBoer.
He's taken every freaking player and every other, just like Indiana winning national championship with portals, the older quarterbacks. That's what everybody's going to do, and everybody's going to follow LSU's plan if they have the money. Most of them don't, and they're going to be left behind.
Yeah. Another team that's also, I think, getting into the tampering game and is spending a lot of cash that, some people aren't talking about is USC. I mean, they're also starting to get in on this too, because they have not been close for a while. And, it's this Lincoln knows that his time is running out. And
what was their recruiting class? 35, 36? Like, it was insane how big their recruiting class was.
It was huge. It was huge. And they got they didn't get as many people from the portal because they had so many people coming in, from high school. But they did go out and get a couple people that, weren't even on their radar.
35.
Yeah. And they got 8 or 9 people in the portal. So you're talking about almost half their roster has been flipped That they didn't do that without breaking some rules.
But isn't that a sad day that we if we play USC, we're not even worried? I can't say we're not worried, but they're just not the level that I can't see Lincoln Riley lasting too much longer there.
Well, I mean, we're going to find out because we play them this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that as well. Well, guys, it's been a great show. I'm going to go ahead and let you all take your final thoughts. Or maybe if you want to ask Wargo a question, you can do that as well. It's getting close to 9:40. So we want to be very cognizant of his time. Mike, thank you again for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you as always, my man.
Always
Looking
fun.
forward to
Thank you
start
for-
writing that book, brother.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
So Nate, last thoughts, man, or a question for Mike?
I got a question for Mike about, John Cooper's from Tennessee, and I've met him several times, and I like the guy. And I just want to know, from your perspective, does he get, is his reputation tarnished because he never won a national championship at Ohio State? And, obviously he had issues with Michigan. Do you feel like he doesn't get the credit that he's due as a coach because of those two factors?
I totally agree with that. Anything on Facebook when I want to put John Cooper in there, look at the comments. 2-10-1 against Michigan. Can't beat Michigan. Can't do that. Here's a lot of positives that get overlooked. Okay, I'm not knocking the previous coach. He took that program over. He was a great recruiter. Got it to the mid-90s where I think we were elite with anyone in the country. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, 1993, that was the year I was on the team. We won 10-1-1. Okay, we won the Big Ten for the first time, I believe, since 1986.
Yep.
Didn't go to the Rose Bowl because Wisconsin, there was a rule back then where whoever didn't go to the Rose Bowl the longest got to go. So Wisconsin had the same record as us. They went to the Rose Bowl. But that was a great season. And I'm going to, obviously I'm going to go back in time and play shoulda, woulda, coulda, whatever, because it's a lot of fun to fantasize. There was no college football playoff back then. Okay. Even though we got crushed by Michigan, we still finished where we could have qualified for the playoff. Okay. Just like in the last few years, except for this one, Ohio State did really well, except for the Michigan game. Okay. Now, my one criticism would be he approached that game differently. I think the pressure just started building. We lost in 88, lost in 89, lost in 1990. He was on the hot seat. And when Michigan week would come around, people were stressed out. They would change up the whole practices. They'd blast a Michigan fight song. And we had better athletes in a lot of those years, but they'd be really stressed out and everything. So, yeah, Michigan, that was bad. But 93 was a great year. 95, really good year. That came down to we lost to Michigan in 1995. 96, I think that could have been a natty year. That definitely could have been a national championship year. We were stacked. Once again, it came down to Michigan. The defensive back on one play slipped and fell. Michigan won. We beat Arizona State in the Rose Bowl. But, if we look now, okay, Indiana did it undefeated. But most of these national championships, you can have one loss. We would have made the college football playoff, and there would have been a strong argument we could have gotten a natty that year. And 98 was also a very strong year. I believe we lost to Michigan State, but we beat Texas A&M. But in the mid-90s, John Cooper in the Buckeyes, proud to say we were right up there with the top 1 or 2, 3 teams in the country. Kind of fell apart 1999. 2000, there was a lot of issues. There was a lawsuit between 2 players, really ugly at the end of a winter conditioning session. Somebody hurled insults at another player, and the guy punched him and messed his face all up, and it turned into a lawsuit. At the end of 2000 was when things really fell apart, and it was time for change with Jim Tressel. But I do think he is the second winningest coach. Okay, and Ryan Day, a couple more years, he could beat that, but he's the second winningest coach, and I'll put that, when Urban left, I'm like, hey, he's still the second winningest coach. And I just enjoy watching the fireworks come in, on that message. He got the program to the next level. He got the program. I like to think, obviously I'm biased, but he got the program from in the late 80s, they had a lot of, when I went in there, they said there was only 4 guys that could bench over 400 pounds. They had a lot of athletes at the end of the Earl Bruce era. He got the great recruits. He got, NFL rosters he stacked. So he should be credited turning into the next level. Yes, his Michigan record was horrible, inexcusable. But Michigan was also a premier team back then, for most of those years. And his bowl record wasn't that great. But John Cooper, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. You know the way it is at Ohio State. You can put a picture of John Cooper. What are you going to get in the Facebook posters? He's terrible. Michigan, blah, blah, blah. But no, I don't think he gets the respect he deserves.
Bart, any last comments or questions?
Did you travel with the team, Mike?
I did rarely. The travel squad is back then it was 62 players. I don't know what it is now. I would travel for the bowl games. My senior year, I was working in spring practice with the second team. Blew my knee out in spring practice, so I don't know what happened there. They customarily in your senior year will travel you to a couple games if you never make the travel squad. But no, I never made the travel squad during the year. But the bowl games, they could travel everybody. They needed me during the bowl game, so I got to travel to the bowl sites.
According to some of your players, or maybe you, what would be one of the best stadiums out there? And what do you think is one of the worst?
We're talking now current day or back then?
Back then.
Back then, the Citrus Bowl Stadium, we did play at Jack Murphy. It got torn down. It was Jack Murphy Stadium back then. That was really nice. The trip out to San Diego was really nice. I didn't really travel to a lot of other stadiums during the year. So
the worst
Ohio Stadium is my favorite.
Yeah, the worst one, not named Michigan, obviously.
Oh boy, the crappiest one. Oh man, Penn State was kind of really barren. I mean, basically, you had to walk out in the crowd, and people could heckle you. Like Penn State, their locker room, you had to actually walk through the crowd to go to the field. So, it's pretty funny. So, okay. I mean, they're rebuilding that thing. They should just tear it down and start over. It's just a hodgepodge of like bleachers, and it looks like an aircraft carrier. Yeah. So I guess if I had to go with any, it would be that one.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Mike, any last comments or anything you'd like to give tonight before we head on out of here? Appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm keeping my sanity now in the snowstorm, being cooped up in here. Great time as always, guys. Really enjoy it. Thanks for the time, and look forward to seeing you all hopefully in person at the spring game.
Yeah, absolutely. The big spring game tailgate. If when we get word on when when it's going to be, we will get flyers out. We'll be inviting everybody, have as many people with us. We usually sit together, like everybody walks into the stadium, sits together somewhere high up on B deck somewhere or A deck, so that on the home side, so that we can all be together and get a good view. If they open up D deck, I usually share and show everybody the secret place on D deck, and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this existed."
What Chris pay last year? $80 for the concessions. It was some insane price.
Yeah, it was like $5 to get in, and it was $80 he spent on concessions.
It's insane. It's like you got to be kidding me.
And what's funny is we have I'm like, don't buy anything, because as soon as the game's over, guys, we're grilling hot dogs, and we have a ton of hot dogs and everything over at the tailgate. So it's a lot of fun. We do breakfast in the morning, then we do hot dogs on the Blackstone after the game. So usually, and there she is. I was just about to mention her. Chris's wife, Bobby's usually out there. She doesn't go into the game. She hangs out and gets it ready for everybody so that we have nice, good, warm hot dogs when we get back to the tailgate. And then we sit down and we kind of talk about what we just witnessed and complain about the offensive line. That's been the tradition that we have.
Sounds
always a blast. I count the seconds. It's winter now. I count the seconds to go into the spring game and go into the Pirate game to see some championship baseball.
Beautiful. Don't forget, guys, tomorrow I will have more information about the magazine that you're looking at right there. It will be available at the end of the week. We're going to be taking pre-orders for the hard copies that'll be going to print at the end of this week, so be on the lookout for that. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, right here on YouTube, we'll have another roundtable show. It'll be an hour long, because at 9 o'clock, we'll be going over to Patreon for the after-party show, the secret show. That'll be tomorrow, so don't miss it. 8 o'clock right here on YouTube's where the party starts. We got another special guest tomorrow, another panel. It's going to be awesome. It always is right here on the OHIO podcast. If you haven't already, please smash that like button on your way out. Appreciate each and every single one of you being with us again this evening. As always, be kind to one another. Treat everybody with respect, especially in this type of weather. Drive slow. Don't get angry. Right, Bart? Everybody just take your time. Take your time.
Yes.
Be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH in Carbon, Ohio with all your heart. Till next time, you all know what to do. OH!
Hi-yo!
Go Bucks!
Go Bucks.